thought this was over, but now that I have the upper hand, it will be me who finishes the review.
He's dead, folks. He's not coming back. And what is this, a cartoon and a goddamn review? Higurashi, no naru, Koro ni. Or When They Cry.
So we previously looked at chapters 1, 2, and 5. So let's move on to chapter 3. This new story arc has an emphasis on Keiichi and Sadako. Now, despite how much fun the group has together, Sadako begins to be absent from school. Keiichi finds out about her parents having been past murder victims in the town's supposed Oyashiro curse, and her brother disappearing last year to the curse, and that her abusive uncle has returned back in town to take care of her. And by take care of her, I mean bruises and making her buy beer. Okay, so the drinking age in Japan is 20, so who sold that beer to a minor? We even see that dead look in her eyes, which is a nice touch. Obviously, all of her friends and townspeople are concerned, but Sadako denies abuse. I can only assume it's what most children do in an abusive situation, is that they see it as somehow normal, or like it's their fault and that they deserve it. To which Sadako does believe that enduring any hardships and proving she's strong will somehow bring back her missing brother. It sucks too, because the police would be willing to help her if she admitted anything. Even the local doctor mentions wanting to adopt her, even if jokingly marrying her. I guess underage humor is good Japanese humor? Keiichi is very determined to help Sadako in any way he can, even to the point where he plays the role as her replacement older brother, or as she calls it, her Nini. Which Nini is a nickname for the Japanese word for brother, Oni-chan. So, like a good Nini, he goes to Mion with her family's background and demons and connections to Oyashiro's curse to request to put a curse on the uncle. Reasonable. Now wait, how does he know about her family's history? I mean, he knew in an alternate timeline in the previous chapter, but yeah, I noticed some characters just seem to carry on some memories from past chapters, whether it be a continuity issue or that they can subtly remember past events. But anyway, Mion is like, bitch, quit stereotyping. So Keiichi has only one last option. Straight up murder. Yeah, really. Why? Now I get Keiichi is protective towards his friend and kind of little sister, but whereas there must be other options to try first, it really didn't take much for him to jump to cold-blooded assassination. If you look back at chapter 1, it took the course of a month and for what seemed like attempted murder for Keiichi to kill his friends. And in chapter 5, it took over a year of abuse, trauma, a lost love, and a first accidental death before Shion went on a killing spree. So, holy crap, what a jump! We do see a flashback of Keiichi, how he didn't perform well in school until he was put in advanced classes, proving he needs complex problems in order to excel. And then the other kids were super jelly of him. I think this is supposed to help us understand that his need for complex problems makes him capable of murder. But it's still a stretch.
お母さん、これまで読んだ推理小説の中で一番よくできてると思った完全犯罪は?
Subtle. So on the night of the Cotton Drifting Festival, he calls Mion to take Sadako in his place, which worries her because Satoshi called about the same thing before he disappeared 1 year ago. And I've already mentioned this scare in a previous review that was the first part of this series. So, if you haven't seen that already, clicky clicky. Despite this, he prepares for the murder and baits the uncle to him.
こちらは沖宮警察署です。
Now, how does he believe a kid works at the police station? And if Keiichi doesn't know where the police station is, how does he know where to intercept him? But, whatever. He goes, and the deed is done. So after an exhausting night, he walks home in the rain, not avoiding roads to hide suspicion, but while it's raining on the day of the festival? But it hasn't rained in past festival nights. Is this not a time reboot? Or maybe it's screenwriting convenience? So Keiichi is given a ride home by Takano. Yes, that Takano. And out of nowhere she asks,
死体上手に埋められた?
And this sort of tends back and forth. Keiichi plays dumb while Takano heavily implies that she knows what he did. How? It doesn't matter. Because then Keiichi is suspicious why she has Tamatake's bike. Yes, that tamatake. She claims it's hers, but then 3 times she says,
私とあなたは今夜出会わなかった。
so why pick up Keiichi at all if she's clearly suspicious of something too? The next day, Keiichi goes to school expecting to explain his whereabouts as well as to hear the good news that her uncle is gone. However, everyone claims to have seen him last night at the festival, which obviously doesn't add up. Even Sadako implies that her uncle was still home that morning. So Keiichi goes to see Dr. Irie, where he breaks down and admits the murder, which he seems surprisingly okay with. And then again, the uncle was a real tool, so, whatevs. But Keiichi is confused how everyone saw him last night, and is looking for a reason as to why.
ドッペルのお化けなども有名です。ドッペルのお化け?
And where does this little concept lead us? Nowhere. There's no double. It's never brought up again. Well, that's dumb, right? But he overhears Irie wanting to subdue him, clearly because Keiichi is... He tries to prove it to himself that the uncle is dead by going to redig up the grave. And yes, it is raining again at just the right moment. But ho! There's the ninja Popo coming out of nowhere.
ほら、続きをどうぞ。
In a delightfully suspenseful setup, both the police and Keiichi are both confused to find a hole that was dug up and filled up, but is in fact missing a body.
やらなかったのか?
I mean, did he dig up a hole and hallucinate the murder? Well, if all that wasn't weird enough, he soon discovers that whomever he curses with Oyashiro's curse, even casually, winds up dead. Takano suspected him.
お社様のたたりで死んでしまえ。
She's found dead. Oishi, being a prick,
お社様のたたりで死んでしまえばいいんだ。
he disappeared. Irie not believing him?
チキショー！死んじまえ。
睡眠薬で自殺みたいですね。遺書の類はなし。
自殺?
So while his murder seems to somehow not have happened, there's the other wild phenomenon about him having the power to kill those he curses. Damn, double whammy Twilight Zone wackiness. His madness leads him to rage.
何度でもやってやる。
And he goes to Sadako's home, the girl he's trying to protect, and with an axe to kill the uncle. God, the poor girl is gonna be so traumatized. Of course, he's not home, but he finds Sadako overheating in the bath, counting up to 10,000 because her uncle told her to. As one does. He wraps her in a towel and carries her away to get help, but with the doctor dead, he tries to bring her to Rika's house for clothes. She recovers enough to joke with him sarcastically, as she usually does, but then, like an idiot, confesses to having killed her uncle only to hear that he's still alive. Naturally, Sadako wants to get going. Feeling as dumb as he should, he waits for her to change, and then he sees a bunch of crows gathering to find a disemboweled Rika. Yeah, we have no idea how or what or why, but there she is, dead. He gets his axe bloody trying to shoo the crows, which of course leads to a classic misunderstanding. She runs away from him and Keiichi pursues, insisting he didn't do it, while still holding the bloody axe. She stops on a bridge where Keiichi tries to explain himself. Then Sadako shares a memory of when she was really little and broke into Oyashiro's shrine, breaking a part of the statue. See that missing hand? That was Sadako. So she believes for years she's been cursed. That's why her parents died, her brother disappeared, and now Keiichi is clearly possessed by a demon killing people. Which doesn't sound totally logical, but when you consider the fact there's a rich mythology of demons posing as people within their culture, that makes a little bit of sense. Despite Keiichi's efforts, Sadako pushes him off the bridge, screaming she wants her Nini back, and as he falls, he curses the town for everything that's gone wrong. And you want to guess what happens next? The whole town's wiped out! Holy hell! Rather this was his doing or a major coincidence, still, damn! Apparently a poisonous volcanic gas leaked overnight, killing nearly everyone, which could be a clue to the happenings in this little town. So this chapter has a developed, if not tragic, bond between Keiichi and Sadako, whilst they deal with two phenomena going on that I feel like kind of clash with one another. Both the power to curse people to death and fighting your murderous actions never occurred are both great ideas that battle for the spotlight. I would have preferred one over the other, or separate them into different chapters to flesh out the ideas. This brings us to Chapter 4, which honestly is hardly worth mentioning. I mean, even the name of the chapter was called the Time-Wasting Chapter. So let's not waste any more time. The skinny is an officer goes to Hinamazawa before the festival murders begins years earlier, investigating the governor's kidnapped grandson while the dam protests are going on. It was Mion's family, the Sonozakis, who kidnapped the child to prevent the dam from being built. In the meantime, the officer meets a younger Rika who acts like your typical creepy girl.
ダムの計画はもうすぐなくなりますですから、決まっていることなのです。
To which later he finds that she seems to know a lot about the future, like the series of murders that are about to happen, including her own.
あと何年かすると、私は殺されるの。これは決まっていること。
Out of context, this would be pretty creepy. A good horror story feature, all-knowing scary little girl, but in the context of this story, it's played up as more tragic.
死にたくない。
So without any real scares and not telling us anything we didn't need to know, this short chapter was indeed a short waste of time. I mean, it does make me wonder why Rika knows so much years ago, because I thought it was only the month of June that was repeating. There's even this quote.
いいわ、遊んであげる。永遠に終わらない、この6月は。
So, how does this work? Kind of derails the logic of the plot, so all we really learn is that Rika does in fact know a lot, including predicting the officer's wife dying, whom she never meets, so I'm not gonna even think too hard about why that doesn't make any sense. And now for the last chapter. You remember in chapter 1 when Keiichi was going a little bananas? Well, now it's Reina's turn, even though she's always been kinda nutty. We start off as usual with the gang playing the club activities, but this time with fast-paced, anime action-inspired water gun battle royale. This is to show us each character's tactical intelligence as well as their thrill for the action.
この緊張感たまらねえぜ。決着がつくことすら興ざめするくらいにな。
But then Reina finds her dad is dating a suspicious woman named Rina, who she eventually discovers is scamming her dad for money, as well as dating and working with Sadako's uncle, the scumbag. When Rina follows Reina to her secret place in the dump, she confronts her about her plans, which Rina isn't too shy about at this point.
ここは誰も来ないし、誰にも何も聞こえません。
This leads to Rina actually trying to murder Reina, who in turn kills her. So, might as well that she's at it, gotta kill the uncle too. To protect her father. And plus, it's about time that we see that cleaver used for something after it's seen in all the iconic promotions. While she's cutting up and disposing of the bodies, her friends happen to show up looking for her. They seem more surprised rather than horrified, and eventually they seem way too cool about it. Even to the point of helping her hide the bodies and keeping the whole thing secret. Damn, I can't even get my friends to reliably keep mum about who said what, let alone to cover up a murder. So, after that heavy storyline, things seem normal for a while until she meets with Takano, who's studying the dark history of the town. Considering how Reina believes in the curse to the point where she had a breakdown when she moved away from Hinamazawa, because her symptoms got worse when she did, she is obviously very interested. One of these symptoms being scratching at her neck and seeing maggots in her blood. Now, not only is this just a delightfully disgusting image, but I feel like it could be read as a feeling of infection and slowly decaying from the inside out, even if you're physically fine. A kind of psychological depiction. Reina takes Takano's journal and finds that there's evidence of a disease in the nearby swamps that causes paranoia, insanity, and hallucinations. She even shares this with Keiichi, how it's theorized that the village religion was developed around a procedure to quarantine the disease. Therefore, the curse was made up to prevent the infected from leaving the town and spreading. And Oyashiro might have been a doctor trying to contain it? It's an interesting turn of the plot, but then it quickly falls apart when she says,
実はね、寄生虫の正体は宇宙人なの。
は？宇宙人？
Really? This? This is our main character to end the season? All of this was making sense until she randomly concludes aliens are invading, which she also starts believing the Sonozaki family is using the disease and the religion to control the town.
最近テロって言わないか。
So she holds the school hostage with a bomb, to urge the police to investigate them quicker. I understand she's insane at this point, but this is wildly insane. I don't see a lot connecting her thought process, at least compared to Keiichi and Shion's insanity. But here's the interesting turn of the plot. Seeing what Reina is going through and being confronted by her about trust to her friends, he suddenly recalls all of his actions from a previous timeline in Chapter 1. Most of the other characters don't know what he's talking about, but Rika does, who clarifies that she's been aware of these endless reboots of June. This gives her hope that they can fix things to get a happy ending with no murders or death. We still get a fight scene between Reina and Keiichi for some kind of epic conclusion, reflecting their water gun fight earlier.
この緊張感たまらねえぜ。
Which helps Reina to come out of her craziness enough to stop her actions. And I am summarizing all the emotions and the subtleties between all these characters and their relationships. But as you can tell, the story is less horrific now, and it's all about more providing us with answers. And that's why I'm stopping the review here. From this chapter onto Season 2, we're given answers about the swamp disease, fixing everyone's problems, and even stopping the main antagonist, Takano. Yes, Takano. From proving her research about the disease in the town by the extreme measure of allowing as many deaths as needed. But everyone gets their happy ending in the end. Whee! We do reveal the identity of Oyashiro-sama. A little anime girl. What else did you expect? She aids Rika and the others in the time loop in getting that good outcome. Now, there is a kind of third season of extra stories, including our characters at the pool in an alternative story where nothing bad ever happened, driving an aware Rika crazy. Then we got a spiritual successor called Umineko When They Cry. But that's a story for another time. So I left these 3 chapters in this particular video because I felt like they offered the least in the horror department. At least in my opinion. But, with that said, here's a scare recap. Murder That Never Happened. This is a classic Hitchcock or Twilight Zone type scenario that I would love to have seen fleshed out more. Especially not seeing the proof of the uncle alive, which I thought was a brilliant touch that really added to the paranoia. Killing by cursing. Even if not meaning to, realizing you have the power to kill on a dime, Death Note reference, is another great scenario that needed its own development, especially with that ending. Town-wide annihilation. Holy crap, what a payoff, with a big and extreme result that we're not told at the time if it's because of a curse or a coincidence. Rika's death. A complete left-field move with an unrelenting imagery, quick, sudden, and effective. Creepy little girl. A classic trope, only if used more mysteriously, it would have been scarier. Maggoty blood. A gross detail, but a very psychological one as well. Science. In this case, the history of the swamp disease. Even if it's unveiling the mystery that makes everything horrific, science is still a scary bitch that reminds us how little control we actually have. I want to thank you all for joining me in this little retrospective. The series made an impact on me with its visuals, well-executed horror tropes, and iconic details that each could be expanded to be their own stories. And now, if you excuse me, I have a bit of light reading to catch up on. Because, you know, what harm ever came from reading a book? Yeah, yes.